welcome to Copilots, the podcast where we watch not just the first episode of a show,
but also the second. Some shows just don't have the best pilot episode, and giving it a second chance might just sway your mind.
Here we take that chance for you and let you know our opinion on if a show deserves more than just one shot.
I'm Justice. Alongside me is my co-pilot Josh. Now, let's get ready for takeoff. Your in-flight entertainment this week will be The Adventures of Spin and Marty.
I can't continue this bit.
I mean, I wasn't going to continue the bit. That sounded like a bad idea. I'm not even sure if it's turned out okay.
Oh, it turned out fantastic, I promise.
I doubt that.
Nope, it looks great.
But anyways, yes, the show we will be reviewing this episode is The Adventures of Spin and Marty.
From 1955.
Hence the dumb voices we did.
Which are probably
Anachronistic.
to 1955.
I mean, everything's anachronistic, though.
To 1955.
Please stop. You said you couldn't do it anymore. Just stop.
I said I couldn't continue the bit, as in, like, full running.
Yeah,
I can definitely just do it in spots. If we want to do it
Let's
just
not do
spots.
that. Nah. So, The Adventures of Spin and Marty is, like we said...
a comic book series.
Yes.
Movie. Two movies.
Yeah. It has the main actor who also was in some Hardy Boy series, where he played one of the Hardy Boys.
What I can tell you is I love the Hardy Boys. Those books are all very formulaic, very predictable, and very good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
And also, in those books, just like in real life, the black friend knows his place.
Ugh.
Look, Hardy Boys are slightly racist.
More
just
than
a
slightly.
little bit. Just
definitely more than slightly.
I don't think it's actual overtones of racism. I think it's just like the time.
Of its time.
Yeah, like how Ollie, the character in this show, is also racist.
Yeah. So, if you're wondering why we're doing this, we have a reason. So, we missed the 4th of July episode. Well, we didn't do July 2nd stuff. And you know what I was thinking? What's more Americana?
To be fair, we had to miss the 4th of July episode. There was no way we were ever going to come up with a show that was more American than G.I. Joe.
Yeah. Now.
A real American hero.
Yeah. So, what's some really good Americana? And you know what I settled on?
Baseball. Oh, there he goes, running the third base.
We did not watch baseball stuff.
What's more American than baseball, though?
Disney.
Apple pie?
Cowboys.
Oh.
And racism.
You know, cowboys are like a distinctly American thing.
I mean, they're pretty popular in Argentina, because they have the Las Pampas. But I mean, like, when you think cowboy, you do think, like, American Wild West most of the time.
Cowboys are a distinctly American continent thing.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
Like, they're definitely a thing in, like, some of the countries in South America. Yeah,
South America, Central America, North America. Besides Canada.
No, Canada even has cowboy stuff.
Nope.
Yeah, no, 100%, dude.
Definitely not. Canada just has lumberjacks.
Now, but, like...
Only ever lumberjacks.
150 years ago, they had cowboys.
It's not possible.
Bang, bang, bang.
No, they were clearly just lumberjacks.
And somehow they were fighting Indians, but that doesn't even make sense because India is an entire, like, 2 oceans away.
Yeah, man. It's fucking weird. But yeah, so...
Can I be honest with you?
Sure, go ahead.
I don't remember what I was reading, but I was like 9, 10 years old, and it mentioned that they were ambushed by Indians.
Yeah.
Like, it's used that terminology. I was like, the fuck? I thought we were in California.
Yeah, it's fucking weird, man.
Like, I'm making that joke now, but as a 9-year-old, legitimately confused me for a moment. For longer than a moment.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Anyways, The Adventures of Spin and Marty, who I'm going to refer to strictly as Martin.
Martin, exactly. In my notes, I don't shorten things. But I specifically referred to Marty as Martin.
This show is just really bad about, like, respecting individuals' choices for themselves.
Yeah, really.
So, the first episode is entitled The Triple R, which is the name of the ranch.
Yeah.
It's also in quotation marks, even though it is
the name of the ranch.
And, like, you could just be like, oh, well, all the episodes might be in quotation marks.
No.
They're not.
Because also the is not in quotations. It's just triple R's in quotations.
The title card does have the word episode 1, though.
Yes.
Which made me happy. I don't... Other than anime, I don't think I've ever seen a show where the title card had the episode number in it.
Besides when sitcoms were doing parodies of old shows.
Yes.
Also, I've watched Bonanza. Bonanza had episode title.
Oh,
cards.
did it?
I think the earlier episode did at least. Or I'm just completely misremembering and my brain's just like, it's a Western. They slapped a title card around there somewhere.
Anyways, the show starts with some music. Not even like what you would consider Old West style music. It's just music.
Old TV music?
Yeah, it's just music. Then we get a pasture of horses. No, actually, we get horses coming down a trail with a title card.
Yes.
And then we cut to a man on a horse, except he's not a man. He's a blue-nosed gopher.
Well, I'll be a blue-nosed gopher.
I don't know what that means.
Yes. So I assume it was very much like the phrase, well, I'll eat my hat, something like that, right? Something is so weird or out there that if it's true, I guess I'll do this dumb thing, right? But I see no cause for him to say this at all, by the way. And also when I looked up, well, I'll be a blue-nosed gopher, every reference I found that was talking about it was linked directly back to this show.
So him saying, I'll be a blue-nosed gopher is actually in reference to the white stallion.
Yeah.
Who he then goes and beats.
He doesn't beat, he swings a rope at it until it leaves.
He hits it.
Oh yeah, he definitely does.
And he doesn't just like hit it with a rope. At one point, he hits it with his hand.
Yeah.
Like, this show has a disclaimer on it in the information on Disney Plus.
Yeah, it tells you to see the details for an advisory, but then doesn't give an advisory.
The advisory is there's animal abuse and old-timey racism.
Yeah, but it doesn't tell you that.
Yeah, that's a disclaimer.
Mm-hmm. So he runs this white stallion off, which is fine, I guess. Obviously, they used separate shots of the stallion and him because animal handling wasn't really well done in the 50s.
Dude, the first shot where he runs the horse down, like when he's riding his horse down the hill and comes by the white stallion before he hits it with the rope the first time, that white stallion bucks. I'm like, it was this close to actually hitting him.
Yeah.
Like, that's not camera work. That's not... That horse almost knocked that dude off.
Yeah, that horse was just like, oh, fuck, there's a guy charging at me. What the fuck? Rears back.
It turned its back to him and kicked with its back legs. And it came so close to knocking this dude off his horse.
It also seemed like it tried to kick him at one point when he was chasing it away from the others.
Yeah.
But anyways.
That's the other thing. So the warning is for animal abuse because he actually does hit this horse. For
old-timey racism.
Which, like, is just them referring to Native Americans as Indians. And
talking about them in a not great light.
Yeah, talking about them in a derogatory manner. Mm-hmm. And then also horse penis.
Yeah.
Big old horse penis.
Yep.
That's what the disclaimer's for.
Yeah.
I have to assume.
I would assume, yeah. So then this man, Frank, who we learn is his name.
No, this is Ollie.
What the fuck is Frank? Oh, yeah, I remember who Frank is. Yeah, so Ollie, this guy whose name we learned in a brief moment, takes these horses back to the ranch.
Yelling, it's summertime. They're all here now.
Yeah, so get along, all that shit. And
get along, back to the pasture with ya.
Except he definitely doesn't put them in a pasture. He puts them in a very small enclosed area.
Very small, very enclosed paddock.
Yeah, like probably I'd say 15 to 20 horses in an area that's probably about the size of my living room and kitchen combined.
Honestly, not enough room for the horses.
God, no. And they're all just milling about in a circle because they have nowhere else to go. And then a bunch of boys show up. Like way too many boys, especially since no one is making milkshakes.
No one's making milkshakes. Why are all these boys in the yard?
I don't know, but there's a fuck ton of them. And they're crowding around the horse paddock, obviously.
And you know what? Their life is better than mine. Damn right, it's better than mine.
I mean, they're going to equivocally a summer camp.
Yeah.
I've never done that.
A summer camp where you get a bond with a horse and, like, become friends with a specific horse. I'm not a horse girl, but I could be a horse girl for a summer.
I mean, if we want to explore my dark history, I was basically a horse girl for, like, ages 8 to 12. Strictly when it came to books. But I was like, a book's about a horse, I'll fucking read it.
How is this a side of you I don't know?
I just read all kinds of books that had horses on the cover.
We lived together during that time period.
Yeah, like the entire Black Beauty book series, read them all.
Did you just hide this from everybody?
No, I just actively read them.
I mean, I know my memory is garbage, but like, this feels like...
Nah, I picked up books and I would read. Honestly, it's probably because most horse books weren't very long, so I'd finish them really fucking quickly.
I didn't realize you were a horse girl.
Look, I think it came from reading, like, the Babysitter Club books and, like, the Boxcar Children books.
And the Judy Blume books. And...
I did read the Judy Blume books as well, yeah. Like, you gave me a book series and I would fucking read it.
What was that book about those kids who, like, discovered a genie and, like...
I don't remember, but I did read that one too.
Yeah. I remember those ones were actually okay.
Look, I just... Also, they didn't discover a genie. They were part djinn and had, like, powers, if I remember correctly, and they were activated by, like, their own specific words, because I think their uncle's, like, activation word was Kridiop, like the top line of a keyboard. You wanted a word you wouldn't accidentally say in, like, your sleep or something.
You know, books were really good. Magic Treehouse.
Honestly, never a huge fan. And those books had horses on the cover sometimes, and I didn't read them.
Really? Not a fan of Magic Treehouse?
I was not. I think they really reminded me of, like, I don't remember the name of it, but bunch of kids, like, almost Narnia-esque there. The door in, like, one of their friends' basements, like, led to a different world.
Oh, that's the one I was talking about with the kids that were genies.
Oh, that one? I was thinking of a different book where kids are part genie.
Oh.
It's like something Droon.
Yeah, the Droon series.
I didn't like the Droon series. Partially probably because my first grade teacher had a book where we had to read it out loud, and she started that series, did not start with book 1. Started with, like, book 11.
That's so rude. Jesus.
Yeah, so I was like, oh. And I tried to read more. Like, I tried to start with the beginning. I was just like, this book series isn't good. Never mind, it's ruined for me.
See, God, we're so far off. But
yeah,
the reason I love Magic Treehouse is because, like, first, the books were actually good and, like, had, like, hard science and hard history, like.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
like,
no, it had like some good science, and I read a few, and the ones I read were generally just about topics I found interesting. I did not care about the brother system.
The really cool part about Magic Treehouse, though, is like it's a very meta series where like it's about how books take you to other worlds.
Yeah.
In a book where people go to other worlds via.
Look, if I think Magic Treehouse, my brain immediately pops up the visual image of The More You Know. Seriously, like, I think Magic Treehouse, my brain goes, the more you know. Like, I don't know why it does.
God. Yeah. Anyways.
And then I guarantee you another reason why I didn't like the Druid series thing is at the time other people were reading those, I was reading The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and it's like, they're very much the same premise. One is neater. Yeah, but also, one has a talking mouse, and I love the fucking Redwall books.
Yeah, but also, one is much less Christian overtones.
I was a child. I didn't give a shit about Christian overtones. Santa wasn't real. Neither was God.
Nah, dude. Don Shredder, like that.
The Voyage of Don Shredder was dope.
Yeah, Voyage of Don Shredder is so good.
Anyways, horses.
Well, anyways, a bunch of kids arrive at a horse farm.
Yeah, so they're all just crowded on the pack, and they're like, wow, I want to ride that horse. I like that horse. I'm going to get that horse. And
then in between, we're getting cuts to like 3 or 4 different kids.
Kids like being introduced, and their parents all being like talking to them, like wishing them goodbye, or trying to talk to the director of the ranch, something Logan.
So Spin is one of the first characters we meet.
Yeah.
And he's like obviously like cowboy kid, and like
he's definitely older than the rest of the kids as well.
He's got a cowboy hat, and
most of the kids have cowboy hats.
Well,
but he has the button-up shirt with the sleeves rolled up a bit. Actually has a buckle going on with it. So I think he actually has some cowboy boots. I don't think any of the other kids do.
Yeah, so he's definitely a cowboy kid.
Yeah.
And then we get introduced to this kid who's saying goodbye to his parents, and he is
Frederick.
He is I find wild animals and keep them in my house kid.
That one's not Frederick. Frederick is I look like Richie Rich.
His hair is like pasted down.
He has the glasses. He's wearing like a blazer.
Honestly,
I think the one you're talking about.
I thought he was Martin.
I thought so as well, yeah.
Because I was like, oh yeah, because Martin's the misfit. He doesn't fit in with all these kids who like.
Yeah, but then his mother calls him Frederick, so it's
Frederick.
Like, yes.
And that name is the real reason why we're not doing 1930s, 40s, 50s radio person voices.
Yeah, we can't hit that name with it. We tried.
Try saying Frederick, not Frederick. Try saying Frederick while speaking in a radio voice. It doesn't work.
Yeah. I believe I Find Random Animals boy is Biff.
Oh, Biff, that's right. Biff Tannen. He's in the show.
Yeah. And so I assume something really bad happens here because Biff becomes an asshole later, as we learn. But, like, he doesn't seem like an asshole yet, you know?
Does that fit the timeline?
God, no. Wait.
Biff is...
I think he goes back to, does he go back to 1965 or 1955? And he goes back to the 50s, so he goes back to 55, so no.
Okay, so it doesn't...
Because this show also takes place in 1955, assumedly.
Okay, so it doesn't fit the timeline.
Yeah. Because he goes from the 80s to the 55 to 2015, 30-year periods.
Yeah. 55, 85, 2015. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, that's not true, though. He goes back even further because...
Yeah, he goes back to 1885?
Yeah, because of Back to the Future 3, which is the best movie in the trilogy.
Back to the Future 3 is fucking great.
It's so good.
Also, it also has cowboys and horses. So, while they're all talking about the horses, Spin points out the one that he had last year, because Spin's been here before.
Spin's the only returning camper.
Apparently, yeah. Which doesn't speak well for the camp.
Yeah, like, that's weird.
Especially when we learned that the camp had, like, 40 kids last year.
And they've got, like...
one returning camper, supposedly.
And they probably have, like, less than 20 kids this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This camp is failing.
Miserably.
Yeah.
This camp...
it has no retention.
They hired a new counselor this year.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they afforded it, because...
I'm gonna go with the fact that the real reason Logan has Martin stay, as we'll learn later, he's just gonna fuck ton of money. That's my assumption.
No, because if that was the case, would Logan have been arguing with...
Perkins? Yeah, definitely.
Like, would he been arguing with Perkins being like, no, you can't stay? If Perkins was like...
Yes, because their plan was to hide Martin and ransom him back at the end of summer.
That's an entirely different show. You're thinking of an entirely different show.
I don't fucking know. But anyways, Spin's pointing out the horse that he had last year, and the others are like, yeah, whatever.
The horse's name is Sailor.
Yeah, and he's like, prove it. So he starts calling for Sailor, and then he jumps on the horse, bareback, and rides it around.
Yeah, because one of the kids goes...
Do you ever ride it bareback? Says it like that, and that's just weird phrasing nowadays. I don't know if it was for the 50s.
The tone was even weird. He's like, do you ever ride it bareback?
Yeah, like, maybe that wasn't a euphemism in the 50s, but it is now, and it did not age well.
It did not age well. You know, that's the thing about old shows. Hardly ever age well.
Yeah. So he's riding around on the back of Sailor, and
Mr. Logan sees him, yells at Ollie to get him off that horse, get him out of that pen.
Yeah, because one of the mothers sees it. Frederick's mother actually sees it. And freaks out. She's like, I hope you won't let my Frederick do anything like that. He's never ridden a horse before.
He's never even been around a horse before.
Yeah. And so Ollie gets on a horse, pulls Spin off, and Spin yells like he's going to struggle, and then the moment Ollie touches him, he just goes, well, I guess that's it, and let's go with the horse, and just gets pulled over onto the other saddle.
It's the most, instant give up ever. He's just like, oh.
Yeah. And then Ollie's like, I thought you were going to reform school this summer, which I wasn't sure was supposed to be a serious thing yet, but then we learned he's repeating from last year, like he's here again. He knows the guy, so I assume it's meant to be a joke.
I apologize in advance, but honestly, the way Spin goes from, he's going to put up a fight to not putting up a fight is, how Serpentico's face dropped when he realized he wasn't facing Christian Cage in a match. Instead, it was Luchasaurus.
Yeah,
he was
I actually know what you're talking about.
He was just like, I have a chance against Christian. No, you don't, Serpentico. And then they're like, not against me. It's against Luchasaurus. And Serpentico's like, oh.
Well, I'm fucked.
Why am I even here?
Yeah. So they get Spin off the horse. The parents all leave, and we see the kids in the cabin. Okay, their stuff all sorted and everything. Just
hold on. My favorite one of these parents goodbye scenes is Biff, because he's like, maybe I'll even find a snake this time.
Yeah, and his mother just looks like ashen, please God no.
And his mother goes to hug him, and his father just shoves Biff out. Yeah. He's like, go away.
Yeah.
It's so good because
this entire time he's been giving instructions to his mother how to take care of his turtle, his mice, his other animals that I was paying attention to.
And his mom goes to give him a hug, and his dad just stiff arms him. He's like, no.
Yeah, it's great. So then the kids are all in the cabin. They're kind of just chatting around, not really doing much. They're trying to figure out what the 3 R's are in Triple R, and one of them makes a joke that it's reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Yeah. 2 of those start with R's.
Yep, definitely.
No, reading, arithmetic start with R's.
So does writing.
He specifically says arithmetic.
And he says writing, which if you put an apostrophe at the front and the end, it's also spelled with an R.
Fair point.
Yeah, it's all about dialect and language.
Yep, fair point. We then get...
That's why we have the quotations.
Oh.
Because there's some in the other R's. He's right, it is reading, writing, arithmetic. And they're all going to be really disappointed when they never get to ride a horse.
We then get...
So Mr. Logan has 40 horses in the field. When he gets back to the paddock, he has 35. How many horses is he missing?
Dude, I was so confused. I was like, yeah, okay, he has to have 40 horses. He had 40 kids last year. They each got their own horse. What are you going on about? What is...
Mr. Logan had 40 campers. He has 1 returning. How many did he not retain?
What is his retention loss percentage? Fuck. So,
for your next creative writing assignment, talk about how Triple R is the best place. Please?
For the next creative writing assignment, tell us what the 3 R's in Triple R is. Oh, Jesus Christ. So, we then get a scene where all the kids are telling each other what their names are, introducing themselves, and we get Spin and Biff. And somebody else, and then I'm tired.
Yeah,
we don't get his actual name in either of these episodes.
Which, you know what? You know what's definitely tired?
That joke.
Even in the 50s,
even in 1955, even 67 years ago, that joke was tired.
Mm-hmm.
Dads out there, you need to get new material.
Yeah.
A 9-year-old was making your joke in 1955.
Yeah. Which, I'm not sure if I'm right, but it looked like the kid who played Opie in the Andy Griffith Show.
Yeah, and all these kids have their own, quirks and personalities, and the kid that looks like Opie is, I don't want to call him lazy, but he's unmotivated and thinks
he's funny.
And thinks he's funny. There we go. He wants to read comic books and lay in bed.
Yep.
And honestly, what better way is there to spend his summer?
Oh yeah, definitely. So then they're all like, cool, we're all here. And then Spin has to point out, well, no, the kid above, I'm tired, is not here. And Tired's like, oh, you mean Marty? No, I'm pretty sure he says Marty.
The first time they say Martin.
Okay.
The very first time
Martin Markham?
Markham, yeah. Martin Markham. And then they go on about Marty Markham and how he's a weirdo. And
they guess. They don't entirely know.
Yeah.
And then Spin's like, well, whatever. It doesn't matter. We'll see him when he gets here. Now, if you don't mind, I gotta go see a burro about a ride. And again, I didn't know if that was a euphemism or anything.
It sounds like a euphemism.
Yeah.
I gotta go see a burro about a ride.
So then we see a pretty nice car.
It's a limo.
Yeah, apparently.
That's what they say.
Driving towards Triple R.
There's 2 middle-aged men in the front.
And 1 young child in the back.
Sitting in the middle of the back. No seatbelt, because it's 1955.
Yeah. Suit, hat, legs crossed.
And he's like, we're running late because you made us stop and buy those ridiculous clothes.
And so the guy who's not driving turns around and goes, well, I thought those jeans would be more practical.
You know, I didn't realize this until just now, but they really do affect, like, British mannerisms.
Yes, and Perkins is meant to be British. He has a bad British accent.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he has basically what I just approximated, which wasn't good.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
I mean, I did think both
Martin,
Brooke and Blair from No Rules Barred.
Yeah, I know you did.
Were British until...
Martin affects British mannerisms, like high society British mannerisms that for some reason were super popular in like the 50s and 60s in television as like, well, because a very wealthy person. And Perkins is meant to be his British butler. That's how you know Americans were wealthy in that time, when they had the British doing stuff for them.
Okay. Anyways.
If you dial back a few more years, it's different people. The 50s, though, it was British people because you didn't want anyone not white around you.
Fuck. Saying the quiet bits out loud, Justice.
I'm not wrong. Like, think about it. Like, that seems to be how it fucking went. And it's fucked up, bro.
So anyways, limo's driving around these country roads going on its way to Triple R, and they almost drive straight into a donkey carrying 3 children.
Spanning 2 other children. I feel really fucking bad for that donkey, especially because you can tell the third kid, he's like barely hanging off the back end of the donkey.
That donkey deserves a raise.
Honestly, if this is how all donkeys are treated, I understand Eeyore's extreme depression.
Yes. Also, I got to see a burro about a ride. Not a euphemism.
Nope.
He had to see a burro about a ride.
Yeah. So, the car stops before they hit the donkey, and Martin...
Editor's note. Burro means donkey in Spanish.
Yes.
Burrito means little donkey in Spanish.
That's right. You're always eating a little donkey whenever you get a burrito.
I think it's because burritos are like, you could pack a bunch of stuff in them.
I would assume, yeah.
Like, it was like, you pack stuff on donkeys, so this is a little donkey.
I guess. I don't fucking know.
I think that's like the etymology of...
It would make sense, honestly. Anyways, though, Martin gets out of the car and proceeds to berate these people for being in his way and almost causing his grandmother's car to crash.
Okay, so I don't want to be a dick, and pedestrians have right of way at all times. Fuck you.
But they did know for a fact that they were still missing one kid who was supposed to be coming, and they actively rode this donkey down the one entrance into the camp.
And, like, they have all that, like, pasture and actual, like, land around the camp. They decided to ride it in the middle of the road for no reason. Like, it's their fault. It's Spin and the boys' fault.
Plus, because he didn't have a seatbelt, like, Martin's pretty much annoyed because he did fly forwards and fall into the,
front 2 seats.
Well, he fell into the seat well, I guess.
Yeah.
In the back seat.
Yeah.
And his hat was knocked aside. And they make, like, weird faces when they first see him. I think there's an underbreath comment about, like, the way he looks or his car or some shit like that.
Yeah.
So, like, understandably irritated. He's still rich and probably deserves the guillotine, even if he is only, like, 8. I think he's actually, like, 12, but either way.
I love how you're talking about guillotining an 8-year-old.
No. He'd be, like, 75 now.
Okay, and that's literally the end of episode 1.
Yeah.
Literally the end. So what do you think of the show, Justice? Based on episode 1, what do you think?
I'm not a huge fan of it. Like, really not. It's not bad. It's not good. It exists. Honestly, it felt like very few people were acting, and like the rest of it was just actively capturing camera footage of people, of young children at a camp where they get to ride horses.
Can I tell you what this felt like to me?
Sure.
So, because medical care is expensive in the United States, I haven't been to the doctors, like, just for a checkup.
Yeah, obviously.
But, like, this feels like the type of show that would be playing on the TV in the doctor's office at, like, 9 in the morning while you're waiting to go to your appointment.
The other option is House Hunters International.
No, because I'm talking about, like, because they don't have cable. They just have antenna back when that was a thing.
I know. The other option is House Hunters International. Every time I went to a doctor's office, House Hunters International was on one of the televisions. Never just normal House Hunters, always International, which was always somehow worse.
But yeah, this feels like a show that you would see when you're waiting for an appointment. Like,
yeah,
I don't...
Definitely.
Like, it would just be on, and you'd be like, what the fuck am I watching?
Not even like a good show you'd see during that time, because like, at least the Andy Griffith Show, or maybe PD, as I've seen it listed before, can be moderately okay depending on the time.
Is the Andy Griffith Show not the name of the show?
I don't believe it started off as that. I believe it started off as Mayberry PD, and then became the Andy Griffith Show.
That's wild to me.
Sorry, Mayberry RFD.
No, it's a spin-off.
RFD is a spin-off. Okay, never mind.
Oh, so after Andy Griffith left the show, it ran for 3 seasons, 78 episodes? 78 episodes of the Andy Griffith Show without Andy Griffith.
No. Apparently he was, and he just took a back seat. He apparently showed up on occasion.
Oh, he was an
Sheriff Taylor and newlywed wife Helen made guest appearances on Mayberry RFD until late 1969.
So he was in the first season and a half, 2 seasons.
Yeah.
He was an executive producer on the show, though.
Yep.
I know we were reviewing The Adventures of Spin and Martin, but this is more interesting to me somehow. RFD stands for Rural Free Delivery.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Huh. The show was canceled in 1971 during the CBS Rural Purge, which was a series of cancellations in the early 1970s of popular rural-themed shows with demographically skewed audiences. This included Mayberry RFD, the Beverly Hillbillies, and Green Acres. God, Green Acres is so good.
Agreed.
Gee, that's wild.
Yeah, you're not wrong, man. It's like really fucking weird.
We just fell down a hole by accident, but that's wild, dude. I don't love the Andy Griffith Show.
Yeah.
But like, I've never ever in my mind thought about changing the channel when the Andy Griffith Show starts. I'm like, oh yeah, cool, Andy Griffith Show. I'll sit here and watch.
Yeah, same.
Like,
that wasn't necessarily true for like Beverly Hillbillies.
When I was a child, I loved Beverly Hillbillies. It was like one of my favorite shows when I was like sub 8 years old.
I mean, it was alright. I was never a huge fan of it.
But Green Acres, I accidentally found one night because my radio that I used to have have TV channels.
Yes.
And I found it on there and then watched it on PBS because it was reruns.
Nice.
Good show.
Yeah.
Very good show.
But anyways, so episode 2.
I have the title here.
The Misfit.
Yep, The Misfit.
And we open back up with Ollie again.
Okay, so the way this just opens back up, other than the title card and like the scene of people coming down a lane on horsebacks and wagons.
Yeah.
The opening here.
The horses are lined up against the fence of the paddock.
Just like how it just the opening.
Just
it feels like this is a 25 episode season.
Yes.
It kind of feels like they just shot this all in like a week-long period and then made a movie and then cut the movie into episodes.
I can see it.
25 episodes at about 12 to 13 minutes apiece. Be a really fucking long movie though. That's like 4.5 hours.
Yeah, who knows? But anyways, it opens back up.
Did you hear Avatar 2 is supposed to be 4 hours long?
I don't give a fuck what James Cameron's doing, man.
I don't know if James Cameron understands that the only reason Avatar was successful was because it looked really pretty at the time.
Yeah.
I don't think Avatar 2, the sci-fi sequel to Dances with Wolves, is going to do as well.
Oh god, no.
Okay, sorry,
Speaking of Dances with Wolves, though, we get Ollie talking to the horses in the paddock.
This is actually a great segue because Ollie is talking to the horses and he's like,
you got a bunch of kids you're gonna have to deal with soon. Could be worse, though. Could be Indians digging their heels into you.
And then he also says, well, I'll be a blue-nosed gopher.
Yeah.
Because he has to say it in every episode.
It's his catchphrase.
He's contractually obligated.
Yep.
So Mr. Logan comes out. He's the proprietor of the Triple R.
Yes.
He's talking to Bill, and he's like, well, Bill's like, all the kids are here. They're all settling in pretty well.
Yes. Bill is a person who was introduced last episode briefly. He is going to be the counselor for the cabin that Spin and Martin will be in.
Yeah. And Mr. Logan's like, well, not all the kids. There's still one. I wanted to talk to you about him, but I'm not too familiar with him myself.
Marty Markham.
Which, his name is Martin.
Yeah, like don't just immediately call someone by a nickname just because their name can be made into a nickname. Like,
this was a wild conversation I had to have with Justice during this episode, because Justice's name is Justice. There is no nickname for that. People just call him Justice.
Or Justin.
That's true, too. I guess there is a nickname for that.
Yeah, the nickname is just stay in the wrong name. I'll still respond because my name is stupid and I understand your issues.
My name is Joshua. I typically go by Josh. It's just faster, easier, and the Owa is unnecessary.
Yeah.
But like, when I fill out forms, I put Joshua. Only doctors and medical offices have ever respected that. Everybody else is like, hey Josh, we're ready for you.
Yeah, see, that just sounds rude. Why do people do that?
It is rude, because if I introduce myself to you as something, you should call me that.
Yeah.
Which brings me to our next point. Martin is now at the camp.
Yes.
He has arrived.
He and Perkins get out of the car, and they greet Perkins.
And then Bill calls him Marty Markham. Says, hi, Marty.
Well, first, Logan then shakes Martin's hand and welcomes Martin. He calls him Martin, despite having called him Marty in a private conversation earlier.
Yeah.
Still a bit rude, but whatever. At least he calls the individual their name
to their face. When you're not talking to somebody, you don't have to show them as much respect.
Yeah.
Like when I talk about our friend Chris in private, I can just be like, hey, did you see that dickbag Snapchatted today? And you know who I'm talking about.
You're not wrong.
I'm joking. I love you, Chris.
I'm not. I know who he's talking about because I only Snapchat like 2 people.
True facts. But yeah, so he's like, welcome to the camp, Martin. And then Billy comes up and he's like, sorry, Bill. Yeah. I don't know why I keep calling him Billy. He feels like a Billy. Maybe it's because he refuses to call Marty Martin.
Also, the fact that every grown man I've ever met who's referred to themselves as Billy has been an asshole.
Oh, wow, that's true.
Or kind of just dumb and sleazy.
Do you think Billy Bob Thornton's an asshole too? Yeah, he has to be. Never mind. I don't even know why I asked. It's
like Bills, Wills, Williams, a lot of variety, whatever you want. But every Billy I've met's either been an asshole or just kind of sleazy.
Yeah.
Or both. But anyways, Bill introduces himself to Martin and calls Martin Marty. And Martin does as one does in this situation. He goes, my name is Martin.
He's not even a dick about it. Like,
he's just like, my name is Martin.
The show is doing so much work to make Martin look like a dick.
Yeah.
But he's not. He's just like, my name is Martin, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a dick about it. He doesn't like make a fuss. He's just like, hey, you said my name wrong. This is my name. Please call me that.
Yeah. And Bill goes, well, hasn't anyone ever called you Marty? And Martin says, no. And then Perkins is like, his grandmother
had an issue with nicknames.
Yeah. Okay. And then Bill's like, okay, well, Marty, I'll show you where to put your stuff. And just continues to ignore Martin's preference for name.
Yeah. Martin doesn't correct him again, but as probably like a 10, 12-year-old boy, how many times can you correct an adult who is an authority figure in charge of you now? Eventually you're pushing your boundaries and
Mm-hmm. So Perkins goes and unpacks all of Martin's bags, which he obviously has a lot more than the other kids because that is the classic trope of rich person shows up somewhere or entitled person shows up somewhere. Oh, look at all the bags they have. Man, they must be so dumb and disconnected from the real world. Who would bring that many bags?
Somebody who's actually preparing for...
Yeah, someone who's preparing to stay somewhere for a while. Or, is actually kind of disconnected from everything else because they live a very different life. It doesn't mean they're an entitled asshole or anything. It just means, they don't necessarily understand the situation as well as you do. They're not prepared to deal with a situation that they don't normally deal with.
And so, I get Bill here because he, starts picking up Martin's bags to take him to the cabin. And, he picks up as many bags as he physically can.
He's carrying one bag under his arm, another bag under his other arm, and then he's carrying two others in his hands.
Legitimately impressive. Good job. You picked up a lot of bags.
And Martin goes to follow him, not picking up any.
And, he gets mad at Martin for not picking up any bags.
So it's aren't you going to pick up any bags? And Martin's like, you want me to pick up bags?
And so Martin picks up his last two bags.
And leaves, a black leather duffel medicine-looking bag.
And Bill's like, you're not going to get that last one?
Which, let's be clear here. The two he picks up are both decent-sized, suitcases. And the third is a very large duffel. That, as small as that child is, he'd either have to put it in one hand and try to put the smallest briefcase under, one arm, which doesn't look like it'll fit it well, or try to fit that under one arm. He cannot carry all of them easily unless he, grabs the straps from the other one, puts them over his shoulders, and then picks up the suitcases.
Well, also, this is just a really good example of, the adult, the authority figure here, assuming he knows more about the situation than he does, because, Martin's then you wouldn't have me take Perkins' bag to my cabin, would you? How does that make sense? And Bill's like...
Looks over at Logan and Perkins, who are now talking to each other.
And then he makes a gruff, huff noise. And he's just a dick.
Yeah.
This is a camp counselor for children, and he's a dick, although it is the 1950s, so...
Mm-hmm. Also, he's a counselor, and we learned later that he actually apparently has training as a counselor.
Mm-hmm. Well, we learn he has training as a counselor after he helps Martin unpack.
Yes.
And, they seem to have, be on, good grounds for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Martin's just like, look, I don't actually want to be here. I never asked to be here. And for some reason that pisses Bill off. And he's like,
yeah.
And Bill stands up and is like, well, make your bunk and get out of here.
Yeah.
And Martin stands up, looks at the bunk, looks at his stuff, and then sits down in defeat because this is a child who's never made a bunk. He has no idea how to make a bunk.
And he says maybe he'll just leave.
Bill knows this kid has never made a bunk, and he's Bill is such a petulant little bitch.
Yeah.
He's also, such a petulant child.
It's a situation where I can understand general cohesion on how to make it because the bunk bed is quite taller than him. It's old-fashioned bunk bed, so there's no ladder up to it. So he'd be very much straining to make the bed that way.
Mm-hmm. But no, Bill's just no, you do it, and walks
out, and lets the screen door slam behind him. And then he walks into Logan's office,
and where Mr. Logan and Perkins are having a discussion because Perkins is insisting that he is to stay at Triple R.
It's his job
for the duration of the summer, along with Martin.
Yeah, he's been told to accompany Martin the entire summer.
And Mr. Logan's like, you can't possibly think I'd allow you to stay.
And Perkins is like, I'll work in the kitchen, I'll do whatever. It's my job to do this.
If I don't stay, I will get fired, and it will be your fault.
And Logan still isn't sure. And then Bill comes in to complain about Martin.
I love this because Mr. Logan, we haven't got a lot from him so far. He seems to like actively care about the camp and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, my favorite part is Bill comes in, he's like, well, if Martin wants to go and Perkins is giving you trouble, I say we should just let him go. And Mr. Logan like immediately goes, Perkins, we can use you in the kitchen. You're staying.
To which Perkins goes, well then, sir, I'll be a good cowpoker, yippee-yi-yi, and leaves.
Yes.
And then Bill continues to complain about Martin. And then Logan's telling Bill, like, look, Martin was raised by like a stiff, old, straight-laced old lady.
His dad was a shipmate with me when we were serving in the Navy. I'm going to make sure this boy...
He was my officer. He was my commanding officer in the Navy.
Yeah.
His mother died when he was a year old, which... Martin's an orphan. We learned this earlier in the episode because the kids are complaining.
There was a scene earlier in the episode where Martin's being introduced to the children. Bill introduces him to the children as Marty because Bill doesn't understand boundaries or
just
names.
Before they go to the cabin, he drags Marty over to the kids, introduces him.
Martin. He drags Martin over.
He drags Martin over, introduces him as Marty is what I meant to say.
Mm-hmm.
And then Logan sends another ranch hand, I would assume not a counselor, Frank, to take the kids off on a hike, where we see them like once and they're complaining.
Frank is the other counselor for the other cabin.
Okay, where we see the other kids complaining about Martin at a point.
Yeah, so Martin gets introduced to these kids. I think it's Spin. It might be Biff.
I think it's Biff.
Goes,
it's not Biff. It is Frederick, because Frederick's mother kissed all over his face and stuff, and he complained about it earlier.
Yeah, and he's like, aren't you going to help your dad with get your bags out? And Martin goes, he's not my father.
He's my butler.
And they're like, oh, a butler. Ooh, look at you.
And then Frederick again is like, well, it's nice that you didn't have to deal with all the goodbyes and stuff.
It's nice that you didn't have to come with your parents because of all the goodbyes. And he starts wiping off lipstick off his face. He's like, this is what my mom did.
And Marty's like, well, I wouldn't have to do that. I don't have parents.
Yep.
And they're all just like, what?
And then we get the Bill scene in the cabin, followed by Bill complaining, and followed by
Logan explaining, like, yo, he's a fucking, like, his parents are dead. His father was my commanding officer. We were bunkmates. He was a good man. Like, all this. And Logan's just like, you'll learn how to deal with him and everything. And Bill just goes, I'll have him straightened out by the end of summer.
Like, and he doesn't say, I'll have him straightened out by the end of summer. He says, I'll have him straightened out by the end of summer.
Like, he's actively a troublemaker or something, when no, he's just raised with a very different set of etiquette. Honestly, arguably a more refined set of etiquette.
So Bill goes looking for Martin, goes back to the camp house where he left Martin. But Martin's not in the camp house. We then hear the car pulling away.
Yes.
Bill steps outside just in time for us to see the car turn down the drive. And Bill can't find Martin. They don't know. He doesn't know where he went.
He looks around the bar and the pack, everything. And then he runs into Ollie, and he's asking if Ollie's seen him, and Ollie's just like, look, I'll give you some advice. Do it the easy way, ring the bell, see if he shows up. Ring the bell for dinner, see if he shows up.
Just before this, Ollie was once again abusing that white stallion, which we now know, thanks to this scene, is not one of the horses of the Triple R Ranch. It's a wild stallion. Mm-hmm. Wild stallions.
Yep. Definitely where they got their name from. They watched the show a lot when they were kids. So,
and that's
Bill's just like, whatever, and Ollie's like, you want my advice? I wouldn't even worry about him. I just let him go.
Yep, that's the end of this episode. Martin's missing, Bill's a dick.
And Ollie's also a dick.
Yep.
More of a dick.
An animal-abusing racist.
Who doesn't care about the safety of children.
Truth. So, that's the end of episode 2. You want to go first, or should I?
You can go first this time.
I still think this is like the type of show that's playing at a doctor's office.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Perpetually, forever. Nobody is ever...
Especially like a small-town doctor office.
Nobody's ever watching this show on purpose. They're like sitting in an office, got the sniffles, they're going... blowing into a tissue, and this is playing in the background. Nobody's actively watching this show.
You can like half hear it, and you kind of zone out and forget about it, and then you hear like horse sounds,
or you're like, wait, what? Or you hear somebody say "dirty Indian."
Yeah, and you're like, wait,
and
what?
You're like, wait, what did he say?
Why are they playing this in the doctor's office? Like, that seems problematic. And then you just forget about it again.
Yeah, that's the show. This show doesn't exist except in places where people are waiting.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. I know it's on Disney Plus, and technically somebody is probably like watching the entire series right now. But no.
Which is a weird thing to think.
Nobody is actively doing that. And if they are, that's because they're probably like 75, 78 years old.
Yeah.
And they watched this when they were a kid.
Like, man, you know what was really great?
And they're just jonesing for that black and white.
Though, honestly, that's actually a good thing I can say about the show. The restoration, which they definitely had to do, were really good, actually.
Yeah, like...
It's been updated very well visually. Obviously, the sound quality's been fixed up enough as well.
Yeah.
Like
the only time I had to be like, wait, what did he say? Was when he was the first time he said, well, I'll be a blue-nosed gopher.
Yeah.
And I was like...
And the only other bad audio part is just like a bad horse sound effect. It sounded like the sickest fucking horse ever.
And then the second horse sound effect...
Not sick as in cool, but sick as in like, I'm about to die.
And then the horse sound
and
effect...
me falling over and dying will startle like 5 other horses, and 3 will run away, and 2 more will have heart attacks.
And the 6th one will trip over the first 3 and die.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's another horse sound effect right after that, though, that just sounds like the, like, horse sound effect from Dr. Horrible Sing-Along blog.
For a bad horse, yeah.
Yeah. That's what this show made me want to do. It made me want to go listen to the Bad Horse songs again. Bad horse.
Bad horse.
Yeah. Yeah. I would not recommend watching this unless you are 75 years or old. But if you're like 72 or older and watched this show when you were a child.
Yeah.
That
puts you around like 5 when the show came out.
Yeah, like that's the point of time where like you can reasonably watch this. Otherwise, I don't know what you're doing with your life. I'm sure the show gets better because it got like 2 additional seasons, 2 spin-off series.
Yeah, a movie,
More Adventures of Spin and Marty, and then the New Adventures of Spin and Marty, and then a comic book series, and then a remake movie in the year 2000. Like, it feels like the show was successful.
Yeah.
But like, what does successful mean when there's nothing else on TV to watch?
Look, man, if you want to watch something about like people very much not in their element at a dude ranch, just watch City Slickers. It's a good Billy Crystal movie.
You think Spin City is a spinoff of this?
I'm gonna go with no.
I've never watched an episode of Spin City. I'm aware of its existence, and now I have to wonder if that's also a spinoff.
It's not a spinoff, it's just an homage. The entire city that they live in Spin City is actually called Spin City, and it was founded by Spin.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you want to get in contact with us, and maybe suggest shows, so we're not accidentally stumbling on shows from 1955 and reviewing those, you could do that by tweeting us at Copilots Review, or emailing us at copilotsreview@gmail.com.
Or you can find links to both of those at our website, copilotsreview.simplecast.com, which also has a link to our YouTube, our Patreon, and our Discord.
And our Patreon is, of course, patreon.com/copilotsreview, where you can come and give us money, and we'll give you other content. More content. You're never losing content from us. We're not taking anything and keeping it away, but we are making more stuff than what you're hearing right now.
I am actively stealing content from you. Only content that you would create, though. Any idea that you've had and you're like, man, that was really cool, and then you can't remember it later, like it's just a vague notion, because I stole it from you.
Holy shit. Don't... No.
Anyways, though, thank you for flying with us, and please, fly again soon. I'll let that idea stay in your head. I won't take that one. You can have it.
I need to figure out how to protect my brain.